Hello there and welcome back. What a time to be excited for Season 2 when Enhancement is owning the 11.1 patch right now. And I'm not just saying this to butter your biscuit. 7 million, baby! There are a lot of things changing for the spec in talents, numbers, tier sets, spells, and... who am I kidding? This might be the best spec in the game again! Listen, dude, Enhancement does a lot of damage on the PTR right now. Like, a lot. Now, I am also not the best Enhancement in the game, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't getting all the pump I could get out of it. And I'm saying this to set expectations because there are specs out there that do more damage than Enhancement. Specs like Destro, Demo, Balance Druid, maybe even Feral. More on that in an upcoming video. Most people care about DPS, and DPS is indeed important, but since Enhance has been in the limelight for a whole season, I would be surprised if the devs will let it outperform all other melee specs again. With that out of the way, DPS is not why we are making this video, but rather the changes and how fun this spec is. And a bit about DPS. Listen, man, I don't want to start another season below the tank, okay? I'm also not sure why every patch it seems Enhancement is getting talent changes from minor to major to talent swaps to new talents to reworks and so on. Funny enough, this time we got all of the above. Like the support of our Patreons that make these videos possible. We like doing all sorts of videos that aren't just tier lists, and YouTube makes this kind of difficult sometimes. If you enjoy our content, this or other videos in general, and wanted to support your boys here to keep doing what they love, consider checking our patreon.com/Marcelian&Online page out. On top of making these videos possible, you can gain early access to them, gain access to bloopers and podcasts, and to some dope-ass wallpapers with your very own character on it in glorious 4K resolution. Thanks for considering it and not skipping this part, so let's check the enhanced updates right now. A bunch of icon changes, as you might be able to see here, with the talents remaining the same. Molten Assault and the Maelstrom weapon buffers have different icons for visual clarity, most likely, but a bunch of talents have also been moved around to make for seemingly better pathing for builds. Starting with the right side, the Hailstorm and the Fire Nova choice nodes moved to the other side, and all right side talents went 1 point up, where now Ashen Catalyst paths into Storm Flurry instead of Hot Hand. Hot Hand now paths into Actual Flurry, which moved from the other side of the talent tree, bringing with it the choice node of Tempest Strikes and Elemental Blast to replace the Hailstorm Fire Nova node. These changes make it so if you wanted to play a Lava Lash build that does really good single target damage and priority funnel damage in AoE, you are not forced into Hailstorm and Fire Nova, which was previously the case. Also, having Swirling Maelstrom where Flurry is now made it really awkward with its interactions, where you kind of were forced into both of those to make full use of it, but could get it without getting Ice Strike and Hailstorm choice nodes, making it a bit confusing to build and definitely not very new player friendly. Now the right side seems to make more sense and be actually optional without having to take things like Molten Assault to get Hailstorm. This puts us at the left side of the talent tree, where Ice Strike paths into Hailstorm, which paths into Swirling Maelstrom, and the best thing about all of these three talents is that none are required to get any other talent on this side of the talent tree, or get relevant AoE builds, period, which is what I played on the PTR. There is, I think, no other talent tree in the game right now that offers these many path choices and player freedom to pick really what you want, and part of the reason we wanted to make this video. The way Enhancement is designed right now could be an example for future spec design purely from the pathing present in the tree, and I know I said this about Fire Mage, and that's not the case now. I imagine it's not without its problems though, but that is for the theory crafters to decide. As far as I am concerned, I fell in love with Molten Thunder and its rework. The current version still reduces the cooldown of Sundering by 10 seconds and makes it unable to incapacitate targets, but it will additionally give it a 40% chance to reduce its own cooldown when you hit a target, a chance that is increased by 12% if you hit 5 or more enemies. At least that's what I think the tooltip says. Each time it resets, it will lower the chance to be reset again by half of that amount. This is one of those moments when you can literally jump out of your chair when you get 3 to 4 back-to-back resets. But the biggest change that happened to Enhance was with Primordial Wave. This is something that has the community up in arms with seemingly mixed opinions. What Primordial Wave does now on its own is to blast all targets affected with Flame Shock with a big hit and generate 5 stacks of Maelstrom. As you can tell, it will no longer apply Flame Shock or cause your next cast of Lightning Bolt to cleave for more damage. And as you can also infer from this, your Tempest will no longer be able to cleave as part of this interaction, which is likely the biggest change here and why most people might be upset. Now, I'm not sure if this is what pushed Totemic to be the go-to on the PTR, and I will talk about how cool that is, but I can definitely sympathize with the community for losing this, granted, very cool interaction. I imagine the decision to rework Primordial Wave this way was to also remove this very interaction that may have been blocking people into Stormbringer and Primordial Wave when you really would like to path to Thorim's Invocation. If Primordial Wave and its subsequent talents become less valuable for Stormbringer, you will have more freedom to distribute these in other places. Although I suspect the instant 5 Maelstrom weapon stacks and cleave damage will still be good. But if you do decide to not take this, you might also give up Voltaic Blaze and Molten Assault, since you will be less incentivized to spread Flame Shocks. This would also make sense for a hero talent specialized in pure lightning damage as part of its playstyle. Obviously, for this to not swing the pendulum the other way, you would need to have Stormbringer buffed to compensate, which it actually has been the case, by 15% actually, together with Awakening Storms by 20% as well. I'm not so sure this compensates the loss of multi-target cleave that Tempest was doing, but the thought process at least is correct. And to close up the Stormbringer changes, a big improvement in quality of life and likely DPS for some players came to Arc Discharge, which can now stack to 2 times. I have had numerous a situation where I used my Arc Discharge before I Tempested. Then I got Arc Discharge again, but also another Tempest again, where I would have been incentivized to chuck that Tempest out immediately, wasting the Arc Discharge proc. This won't happen anymore, which is fan-f***ing-tastic. Together with these buffs, Totemic has been nerfed with the Imbuement Mastery talent, which now increases the Wind Fury proc chance by 5% instead of 10%, and its damage gain lowered to a bonus of 8% from a bonus of 15%. We will likely see more tuning to this eventually. But we are not done. That was just the Primordial Wave itself that changed, since we did this lap around the hero talents to explain it. Now, let me tell you why I fucking love the new Primordial Wave. Since it gets Primal Maelstrom by default now, the talent itself is gone, giving you free 5 Maelstrom weapon in just that 1 point. And because of that, Splintered Elements moved up to become a 2-pointer, accomplishing the same thing, and the new capstone is Primordial Storm. And now we are fucking cooking, man. Primordial Storm activates once you casted Primordial Wave, letting you recast the spell, which now deals a bunch of Flame Strike, Frost Strike, and Storm Strike damage in AoE, and launches a Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning at 150% effectiveness. It will also be a consumer, where using it at 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon will make it do a lot more damage. Before I simp for this harder, I do have one lingering question, and that is if this can be made to work with Tempest, where the Empowered Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning can be replaced by a beefier Tempest. This would invalidate the points I made earlier about freeing up this side of the talent tree, but it could give a bigger oomph to Tempest. Still, it won't cleave to 5 targets though, so who knows. It does, however, work brilliantly for Totemic, where the gameplay loop is crazy fun. You can start a combat with your Surging Totem, go into Flame Shock, Doom Winds, spend Maelstrom Weapon if you are above 5 since Primordial Wave gives you 5 up front, and then likely Primordial Wave into Primordial Storm. Then you might Crash Lightning, but hold on, you have Sundering and another one, and another one, and another one. Then spend your procs, beefy Crash Lightning again from the tier set, then you might end up doing your normal rotation and it just ends up into a proc fiesta party of glorious shaman goodness. All of this is played with big Lava Lashes, taking all the Lava Lash talents on the right side without wasting points into Fire Nova or Ice Strike, especially since you'll probably want this in single target, which you can still easily get, by the way, only that the points don't permit it this time, so I don't know. The reason Shaman in 11.1 is so great isn't just because it does a lot of damage. It isn't even because of this new totemic build, although both of these factors in, so but it is because it's such a good spec designed purely on letting the player have fun. A big part of that is still present in the current version of Enhancement, just that 11.1 makes this even better, and that is revolved around build diversity, which comes as a package deal with spec, flavor and fantasy. If you wanted to, right now you could drop all of the fire talents and go for a pure lightning build, whether you're on live on PTR. You can remove Lava Lash, maybe even Flame Shock from your bars, and Storm Strike your way to glory. It might not do as much damage as the best build out there, but you will still be cranking hard, all while removing a lot of complexity, extra abilities that people consider to be bloat. Obviously, you can go for a full fire build, which the totemic one almost is, and hardly ever press storm abilities. The caveat being the tier set that will force you to, but more on that in a second. You can go for a combination of the two and so on. You have the freedom to play your spec in unique ways that few others can say they can, if any, really. As for the tier set, there is still a lot of passiveness to it like many others this season, but you do get a lot of power shoved into Crash Lightning, which might be the biggest change in your rotation, where you might want to press Crash Lightning into single target. This could also explain why they changed the animation of Crash Lightning of all spells, Lightning Bolt too, but we're not happy about that. Something came over me. I dig Crash Lightning, and last time I mained Enhance was in Nathria when Crash was still used in single target for more Wind Fury procs. I'm not saying the spec is perfect or without flaws, but I am noticing a consistency here from whoever's handling the enhancement spec, where every change seems to be oriented towards making players have fun first and worry about balance, tuning, symmetry and fairness later. Coming from Fire Mage, where the devs feel like pressing too many Fire Blasts and Phoenix Flames doesn't translate into what fire is supposed to be, so they are taking those things away, making fire slower, fewer cool moments, less mobility, and generally less fun to align the spec with what they think should be, prioritizing a balance between it and others from the point of view of mobility. This ends up taking much of the fun away from the spec as a consequence, which is so weird since I thought we were all playing a video game. Same has been with Affliction when it lost the Unstable Affliction spam, or Seed of Corruption spam, which players found fun. Same with Balance, losing Arcanic Pulsar. Same with Arms, losing Double Blaze Storm, AoE Burst, and so on. I could be biased, but cool moments of explosive procs or damage or mobility make the game more fun, and hammering out the nail that sticks out doesn't seem like it makes the specs better or the game better. Hopefully, enough people find the spec fun enough to resonate with it, play it, and feedback the devs on what is fun by actually gravitating towards it. And if you wanted another good example of this, it comes in the form of Marksmanship Hunter, with its own rework already out and in our video right here. Find out what the future of specs can be when fun is put ahead of balance.